Have you ever stood in front of the mirror feeling overwhelmed by the day ahead? You're not alone, and today I'm excited to share how you can turn classroom chaos into a peaceful classroom. Hi there, I'm Marion Busfield, a retired special education and classroom teacher with over 20 years of experience. My education and career have provided me with a wealth of knowledge and experience. From early primary to middle school, the highlights of my journey have shown me the invaluable power of evidence-based classroom management. I really recall those daunting early days, sleepless nights, lots of sleepless nights, and endless weekends. Let me share you what I've learned to spare you the same struggles. So, are you ready to transform your teaching experience? Let's get started. Hello, and today we're taking a deep dive into oppositional defiance disorder, or ODD. Today I'll share what it is, its indicators, and introductory management strategies. So, oppositional defiance disorder is a behavioral disorder characterized by a consistent, that's important, that word consistent, pattern of angry, irritable mood, argumentative, defiant behavior, or vindictiveness. So we're going to take a look at what the indicators are of ODD are in the DSM-5, which is the diagnostic manual. But before we do that, I want to remind you here that I am not a medical practitioner, I am not a diagnostician, and neither is any teacher. This is a job for somebody outside of the classroom. You you as a teacher, it's really important that you're aware of some of the indicators because you can make recommendations to learning support and families if and when it's appropriate, and that depends on the context, the situation, the cultural background of the families, the legal expectations of your jurisdiction, so many things. But at the end of the day, you can always implement classroom management strategies. Almost everything else is beyond your control, but you're in charge of classroom management strategies. So that's what we're here to do today. So now let's dig into some of the roles, or the indicators, not the roles, sorry, the indicators. Okay, so this includes frequent temper tantrums. So not just the occasional temper tantrum, the word frequent is there. Excessive arguing with adults. Depending on the age group that you're working with, kids are going to argue with adults. I worked with the sweetest 6 and 7-year-olds. It's rare that you have a student that never challenges you. And then you have to define what is argumentative and what is just a disagreement, because we want to nurture students' independent thought. So there's a line there. A refusal to comply with rules and requests. So not yeah, so it's an outright refusal. It's an evident that's different from their peers, just saying, "Oh, I don't want to." That's not a refusal, that's a whine. Okay, so it's important to look at what this looks like. Deliberate attempts to annoy others. They're really trying to be irritating. Blaming others for their own mistakes. And they are angry, they are resentful, and they are vindictive. And that can be part of their deliberate attempts to annoy others. So there are many factors that influence whether or not a student is diagnosed with ODD. And again, it's not your call. And some of the information that would require a diagnosis is going to be beyond anything that you're able to obtain anyways. So number one is genetic factors. Oppositional defiance disorder can be more common in families with a history of mental health issues, suggesting a possible genetic component. And the word possible is there for a reason. Is it nature or nurture? And again, that's not something we have to worry about, but there is an awareness piece to that. So number two is environmental factors. Children who grow up in homes with inconsistent discipline, lack of supervision, or familial conflict might be at a greater risk of becoming students with oppositional defiance disorder. Now, I have seen students who have been diagnosed with ODD, and I have seen them when their whole person, and I knew them well, and they were just little gems with me. And I have seen them when a substitute teacher took over a class, and I have watched their behavior go like this as they tried to figure out who was in charge in that classroom, because it was the first day that that TOC was in our school, and they didn't know them, and this teacher's kind of full of grace, and so it seemed a little wishy-washy to the student, and you could see those behaviors coming out of the student. And I know for a fact that the family, um, were struggles with discipline and supervision and conflict within the family. So that can definitely be an indicator. There are neurological factors that may be involved. So there may be differences in the brain's functioning in and processing for students with ODD that contributes to the behavior seen in ODD. And again, whether this changes in the brain behavior are caused genetically or by neuron sloughing off, as can happen as we grow. It does happen as we go and grow in life. So I don't know why the differences are there. And again, that's up to the medical diagnosticians that would determine that. And of course, there are social factors, including peer relationships and school dynamics. These things can also play a role. And I'm not sure if that would be the most significant role, but it's certainly going to exacerbate these behaviors that may already be existing. So if you're looking at those indicators and you're saying, but hold on, I teach, grade whatever, and I see those behaviors consistently with my students, remember the difference relies in the persistence and severity of behaviors that disrupt everyday functioning. Some defiance is normal during certain developmental stages, such as adolescence, but ODD is characterized by a persistent pattern of defiant, disobedient, and hostile behavior that is directed towards authority figures. And that's another part of it. It's not, I'm not saying that they won't be vindictive towards their peers, but a lot of the behavior is directed towards authority figures as they check to find out who's in charge. The behavior is more extreme and more frequent than is what typically is involved in children of the same age. So you're going to hear me restate this a little bit a few times. Mental health professionals are responsible for making the evaluation, the very thorough evaluation that provides the accurate diagnosis. ODD can be confused with conduct disorder, ADHD, or other mood disorders. It is up to the mental health professional to weed out what belongs where. We are not experienced or trained in that. We can indicate what we observe, and then they take it from there. So the key differences, again, are the specific pattern of oppositional behaviors directed solely at authority figures, rather than aggressive or illegal behaviors, which are more likely attributable to maybe something like a conduct disorder. And we're going to get those confused. We just see all of it as defiance, but it's not. Now, as we're focused on the behavior and the frustration and the challenge of working with this student, the student is experiencing some struggles too. They can struggle academically and personally, as well as having an impact on the learning of others, which is going to impact them socially. And it's not going to give them a lot of marks with the other parents in the classroom, as well as it can impact the overall functioning of the classroom and you. And it's going to change your emotional state, which impacts every other student in your classroom. So you are going to need support. So it's really important that you remember to coordinate with special education colleagues for support, to find out what you can do and listen to their suggestions. So, as I mentioned, ODD can significantly impact a child's academic performance. So that's going to impact them in other ways. That's going to lead to challenges with attention as they go through this kind of cognitive dissonance. I should be able to do this. Why can't I do this? Which further lowers their self-esteem, which is going to impact their focus. And then, of course, this is going to lead to the emotional turmoil that causes problems in social interactions within the classroom settings. So it's kind of a domino effect. It can have kind of a domino effect. So you're not in charge of the diagnosis. You're not in charge of the medication. You're not in charge of whether or not this child is even in your class. All you can do is the classroom management, and you need some effective evidence-based strategies. So here we go. So the first one is, and I recommend this for every classroom all the time, regardless of who's in your classroom, set clear expectations. Consistent rules and expectations help guide any student's behavior. Positive reinforcement. Encourage positive behaviors by recognizing and rewarding them. it can be hard if a student is constantly defying you, but really encouraging. I mean, and it can be exhausting. I know that in the early days, September, first half of October, when I am addressing everything that I see with positive reinforcement to get that classroom off the ground, I am exhausted. And by the end of the day, I have talked all day. Thank you for doing this. Great job. Oh, I see you doing that. Hey, I love that. And it's just constant as you're repeating your students' names, knowing, letting them know that you see them, that they're doing a great job. And if you're doing that all the time to all of the students, then it doesn't sound hokey. It sounds really authentic to your students with ODD, and they're going to want that, especially if they're struggling socially and want social acceptance. Okay, so encourage positive behaviors by recognizing and rewarding your students with affirmations. Behavioral interventions, implement structured interventions tailored to individual needs. Now that sounds pretty big, and what does that even mean? So, you know what? Even in a classroom without ODD, I've got my classroom expectations, and so something that is tailored to an individual's needs is if they're not if we've got an expectation and they're not meeting that expectation, I say, okay, let's hang out together at lunch and we'll practice together. And so instead of saying, okay, you're in at recess and you need to practice that and you will do 100 lines of blah, 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 you just say, hey, we're going to practice that together because I know that you want to do this and I know that you want to do this well. So I'm going to give you a chance, just you and me, and I'll help you practice that. And it is, I know, it's kind of sneaky, but it works. De-escalation strategies. Employ calm, non-confrontational techniques to de-escalate potential conflicts. So that also sounds kind of jabberwocky big words. So if I have students that are having a conflict at recess, and I have seen teachers get so stressed out and come and at staff and talk about how kids are giving each other ugly lids and they're trying to talk to them in the hallway, and it's like, no, don't talk to them in the hallway while all the kids are taking off their shoes and coats. You say to them now, first of all, my students took off their coats and boots in the classroom at their hooks. I had my classroom designed that way because I had that opportunity so that they are always supervised during that process, which minimizes a lot of problems. But anyways, when you let them in the door, because I let them in from the outside directly, say, okay, as soon as you've got your stuff off and you've grabbed your snack or your lunch, because we ate right after our outside breaks, you come with that person, you sit down at my desk and we'll resolve it together. We sat and we kind of had a picnic lunch together and we talked it through, and it wasn't, it was a conversation, and they got to be heard. And even if they were wrong, they got to be heard, and they had to sit and they got to sit and eat and listen to the other person's time. And there was somebody there monitoring the conversation, and I was teaching them turn taking, and I was teaching them, if you want to be heard, then you must listen as well. I was teaching them all of that. Fantastic, works well. Okay, so it sounds big and convoluted, but it's a very simple process. Okay, so now you have an example from my classroom of a de-escalation moment, how I handle it if students come in from recess. Of course, these can occur throughout the day. Hopefully, so I'm going to give you an approach, the techniques involved in that example that I gave you. Hopefully, if you want to rewind or whatever, you can see me implementing these steps. So first of all, it includes active listening. The first part of the active listening is listening to them when they come to you, either student or one of the students that's involved in the problem situation. You're going to listen to them. You're not going to blow them off and say, oh, it's no big deal, sweetheart. You're going to actively listen to them and say, oh, I understand that that is a challenge. Let's sit down and discuss it. They've been heard. They know if you set up the routines in the classroom, they know what's coming. They know that they're going to have an opportunity. And so they can go about their business and meet you at your desk, and they can be de-escalating, just breathing deep and knowing that they're being listened. That's the first step. Okay, once you've made a turn for everybody in that environment to have a chance to speak, and you've guarded each person's moment, and at the beginning that's going to take some time and some real work for you. You're going to provide choices that are relevant to conflict, the context, and they're choices, of course, that you can live with. I would encourage you never to encourage the choice that says you must apologize. That's not a choice and it's ineffective. And who's it working for? Sometimes the kid who wants to feel vindicated likes the apology, but they just want the other child to be punishment. Nobody's learning and growing from that. And then you want to redirect focus, and that has been done to some degree by making it a picnic lunch. It's just a sit down share. So they're less focused on the problem. They're now more, you've already redirected their focus to problem solving. You're going to be speaking in a steady, soft voice, and you're going to avoid arguing or shouting. And I can tell you that there are a few things that make me white hot with anger. And I can hear my tone. I don't raise it when I'm white hot. I get really, really quiet. And I have to work at putting the love into my voice. Because when children are hurting other children, I mean, there's just regular disagreements, but intentionally hurting and being mean and spiteful, the protective streak comes out. So that's when I have to work on it. You know you. So and again, you're going to offer to give the students choices and to provide a sense of control, because students with ODD need control. And then again, reinforce the positive behaviors. Great job waiting to share your turn. I know you made a mistake here, but you waited and listened to everybody else. And I really appreciate that. That's very respectful. That's a part of our classroom expectations. You did a fantastic job there. Where do we go from here? What else can we do well next time or this time as we go forward? Okay, so focusing on the positive behaviors. Okay, and then there's what I find arguably less pleasant than managing in classroom, because I actually find some satisfaction in managing behavior because I love to see the student growth. It's why I love classroom management, is because I get to see students grow. Is the data collection. You want to document specific behaviors and their frequency. You want to explain or cite how these behaviors are different from those of their peers, because if this is all a parent is seeing at home, then they're not going to know that it's inappropriate for the age. If you've got a school with a high percentage of behaviors, and I've listened to parents who've experienced this, it's you need to document to say this is happening frequently, and so that you can get the support that you need and the student can get the support they need. You're going to want to collaborate with school psychologists or district psychologists, counselors, and the students' parents to discuss your observations and consider the possibility of professional evaluation. And again, depending on the home life, depending on the environment that those parents experience growing up, depending on social and cultural expectations, but depending on the school context and the typical behaviors within the school, or the cultural environment that they live in, never mind if they come from one, all of those are going to be relevant and influence how much and how far this can go, which again circles back to the importance of you having strategies at the ready, because what's most important is that you can teach and grow this child. You can create a classroom environment that all learners can learn in, and that you can go home at the end of the day with enough energy to get through the rest of your day. Okay? Because this job isn't supposed to be the entire day. So the role of teachers and parents, as I just kind of mentioned, your job is to create an understanding and supportive environment, and your job is to work collaboratively with whoever is available for you to work with. So another thing is to be encouraged. ODD can improve with appropriate interventions. And some children do outgrow the symptoms as they age, especially with early support and intervention. So with or without a diagnosis, your role is crucial and can change the trajectory of a life. Now, that's meant as an encouragement. It can also be a heavy burden if you take it too far, right? Your job is not to save this child. Your job is to do your best in the classroom, and through doing your best, and it's going to differ from year to year as you learn and grow, but you doing your best is all that you can do. And for some students it will change the trajectory of their lives, and for others it's not, and that happens to all of us. You can't be perfect for every student. However, if it is left unaddressed, ODD may all persist into adolescence or adulthood, and it can evolve into other disorders. Early intervention is crucial for the best outcomes. And because it's like a snowball that grows as it rolls down the hill. So I don't want you to carry the burden too heavily or too hard, but I do encourage you to understand that you can have a profound impact one of the joys of teaching is how love and appropriate and effective evidence-based strategies can change lives, and you get to be a part of that. That's a tremendous gift and a tremendous joy in my world. So now that you're taking this on, understanding and managing oppositional defiance disorder requires patience, strategy, and collaboration. If you have any questions or comments, I would really love it if you leave them below. Feel free to leave them below. And I hope you got some strategies that will help you from this video. If you want to learn more about effective classroom management strategies for ODD or for ADHD, or just effective classroom management strategies in general, download my gift to you. You can see the cover of it on the far right there on the screen. And it is the classroom management checklist to get you started on the path to more effective classroom management strategies. You can download it by scanning the QR code right here with your phone. There's a bit.ly link there that you can type into the search bar, or there's a link that you can just click down below in the description of the video. Thank you for watching. I hope you join me again. You will see some suggested videos on the right of the screen that I have linked up to this one that kind of connect with the theme here. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, as that will help more than you know, but I think you know how this whole thing works. And hit the notification bell so that you never miss an update. Right now my videos are coming out, instructional videos like this are coming out about every 2 weeks, although I'm upgrading some of my older videos. And yeah, so thanks for joining me. Hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.